In long-running franchises, there is often a generational shift. The classic heroes become parents and/or mentors, and a new generation takes over. Kingdom Hearts did something curious with this idea. The heroes of the first game and protagonists of the franchise turned out to be that new generation. The first heroes were introduced in a prequel as a tragic story, one in which the classic power of love and friendship wasn't enough to defeat evil, and in which the protagonists, instead of having their goodness and bravery rewarded, were punished. This sounds great, but the three characters in this prequel, Aqua, Terra, and Ventus, turned out to be less beloved than the others. In this survey, we see that the three heroes from the other two trios made it into the top 10, while Aqua and Terra secured good positions, 5th and 7th respectively. Ventus didn't even crack the top 10. So let's take a closer look at these characters, examining their stories, personalities, development, and their best and worst moments. Let's get to it. Before examining each character individually, I need to establish a foundation, because it's essential for understanding all three. Sora, Riku, and Kairi lived almost completely normal lives until the start of the first game, and you can see that they have a certain peace and emotional stability because of it. Roxas and Xion were born into a manipulative cult, and this causes them many problems. Aqua, Terra, and Ventus are also trapped in a problematic situation, though not as bad as a cult. For anyone who hasn't realized it yet, I'm just going to say it now. Have you seen Star Wars? The people working on Kingdom Hearts have, and in Birth by Sleep it's almost blatant. Master Arrogance and the way he treats his students are based on the Jedi from Star Wars, to the point that he's voiced by Mark Hamill himself, the one and only Luke Skywalker. In many Star Wars stories, both in the films and in the expanded universe, the Jedi are used to illustrate how people and organizations with the best intentions can end up causing harm. The Jedi try to be both warriors and philosophers. Their great power and goodness often turn them into a large organization that defends peace and justice, but even when everything is going well, caution is necessary. After years in power, the Jedi tend to isolate themselves from the ordinary people they claim to protect, falling into arrogance. They end up living in their own world, trapped in their own bubble, unaware of how life really works, and unable to be the teachers that the children under their tutelage so desperately need. This is what happens in the Star Wars prequels. The Jedi's mistakes are a major reason why Anakin Skywalker falls to the dark side and becomes Darth Vader. Similarly, Arrogance lives in peace and harmony, training his pupils to be warriors of peace, but keeping them isolated from the outside world isn't right. His teachings about light and darkness are well-intentioned, yet misguided. He has educated Terra and Aqua wrong, and this leads them to make mistakes. Many of the flaws we'll see in these three are flaws they've inherited from Arrogance. Okay, that's enough for now. Let's get back to the characters. We'll go one by one, from least to most important in the plot, so we'll start with Ventus. Returning to the poll, Ventus is the least popular protagonist in the franchise, and honestly, I can see where that opinion comes from. For whatever reason, they decided to combine the best of Sora and Roxas into a single character, to the point that Ventus looks like Roxas and has been connected to Sora since birth. But this never really worked. I think it's mainly because of time. We have multiple full games with Sora, all of these and a good chunk of 2 focused on Roxas, but Ventus tries to do more with much less, just 1/3 of a game. While turning to Ventus himself, the relationship between him, Terra, and Aqua is different from that of the other protagonists. They have a friendship, a very strong one, yes, but still a friendship, whereas Aqua, Terra, and Ventus have a fraternal relationship, in which Ventus is clearly the little brother. Everyone sees him that way, including Ventus himself. It seems he's incapable of thinking of himself as anything other than the little brother, especially Terra's. Ven has great admiration for Terra, but this admiration isn't entirely healthy. In the world of Cinderella, Ventus says his dream is to become a Keyblade Master, but later we see that his true goal in life is much more humble. He says he wants to be a Keyblade Master because it's simply Terra's dream, and he can't help but follow in his older brother's footsteps.
Sub-inventory.
Huh?
I wonder.
You, me, and Ven all share the same dream.
My dream is to become a Keyblade Master.
Ventus is forced to confront his identity in Radiant Garden. He spends the first half of his story searching for Terra and Aqua to accompany them, literally to follow in their footsteps, but when he finds them, they both need to continue their journeys alone. They're kind to him, but he's rejected by both. Not knowing what to do, Ventus sits down to pass the time, and that's when Lee, meets him. This scene is more than just a cameo or a joke referencing Roxas and Axel's future friendship. Lee sees a sad kid and tries to cheer him up, which sparks a brief friendship, one that opens Ventus's eyes. He's been obsessed with two people for years, and now he finds himself free to explore a universe full of people for the first time. Since he's here, why not make some new friends? During the second half, Ventus literally has no goal. He simply goes from world to world trying to help whoever he can and make friends. Thus, world by world, friend by friend, he experiences new things and grows as a person. This is a growth he couldn't have experienced otherwise because of Erika's tradition of raising and training his pupils in an isolated location. Ironically, it seems that this solitary journey after being rejected by Terra and Aqua only serves to strengthen their bonds. Meeting other people and making new friends makes him realize that no matter how far apart they are or how many other friends he makes, the three of them are more than just friends, they're family. When we reach the end of his storyline, we see what I meant about Ventus being supposed to be Sora and Roxas combined. As with Roxas, it's revealed that he's being manipulated and that he had a tragic backstory, in Ventus's case, having been practically abused when he was Xehanor's student. It's a shame there's only one scene. It could have been interesting to see more of this messed up situation. And like Sora, he manages to turn the tables on a desperate situation by drawing on the experience and maturity he's gained on his journey, to the point that he's the only character who not only says Sora's most iconic line, but an evolved version of it.
It's always about your friends, isn't it?
At least I have some. I've become a part of their heart, just as they become a part of mine. My friends are my power, and I'm theirs.
You can enjoy this story and this character, but it's like I said before, Ventus is only 1/3 of this game, and it tries to expand the themes of not one, but two characters. Honestly, his only moment that I really like is the final conversation between the three friends. You can tell that things have changed, all three of them have matured, but Ventus has matured the most. When he tells them that Xehanor wants to use him to create the Keyblade, Terra and Aqua, as if they had a switch, flip into Big Brother/Big Sister mode, while Ventus remains firm and doesn't ask for their help or protection. Instead, he asks that if things go wrong, they kill him, so that at least Xehanor won't win. And that's Ventus's whole story. That's Ventus's whole story. There's nothing more. No! No! I'm just going to mention this real quick so no one complains about it in the comments. Yes, Ventus appears in one of the mobile games, but you know what? It doesn't matter. He doesn't do anything. Okay, he killed a girl, but he was possessed, so it doesn't count. Then he turns into light, punches someone, and falls into a coma, because apparently Ventus can't go 15 minutes without sleeping for a decade, and it doesn't even matter, because he gets amnesia. You won't get me to talk about these phone games. Let's get out of here and move on to the next character. The fans' perception of Terra strikes me as fascinating. When Birth by Sleep came out, he wasn't hated, but he was rejected. At the time, undoubtedly the least popular protagonist in the franchise. But over time, and particularly with the release of Kingdom Hearts 3, this opinion has changed massively, to the point that, once again, looking at the poll, he's now in the top 7. I think I can explain this change, but let's take it step by step. Starting from the beginning, we find something very interesting. Terra is a character of great strength and determination. He never gives up, ever. But it's not until the end that we see the positive side of this facet of his personality. The story begins with its negative side. That stubbornness that keeps him from giving up also keeps him from accepting his mistakes. From the very beginning, we find that whenever he messes up, instead of apologizing and or reconsidering what he's done, he digs himself deeper. This is precisely what Xehanort takes advantage of. Terra shows signs of possessing a strong darkness, and despite controlling it perfectly, the mere fact that he has it leads Arrogance, out of his own prejudices, to suspend him. Since Riku, we know that darkness isn't evil, but we're in the past, where darkness was seen as nothing more than chaos and destruction. Xehanort finds a way to manipulate Terra by praising him and speaking to him as if he'd done nothing wrong. Terra, stubborn and unable to admit his mistakes, who do you think he's going to listen to? The one who tells him he's failed, or the one who tells him that someone else has failed? The funny thing is that here, Xehanort is right. Darkness is not a sign of evil. It is a powerful tool, assuming it's channeled. But even if Arrogance is wrong, he wants Terra to grow as a person, and even if Xehanort is right, he only says what will draw Terra to his side. In the early Disney worlds, we see that Terra, how do I put it, is dumb. This was the biggest complaint about this character at the time. In most Disney worlds, Terra is manipulated and deceived by the villains. While it's not as bad as some made it out to be, it's ridiculous at times and makes Terra look really bad. It's also the game's fault for how it divides the plot across the Disney worlds. Normally, Terra starts it, Ventus continues it, and Aqua finishes it. But this causes Terra to start the trouble and then leave, because either he makes a mistake and is so stubborn he refuses to face it, or he's so dumb he doesn't realize the magnitude of his error. Everyone talks about how Maleficent possesses him, how Hades and Captain Hook trick him, but I don't see enough people talking about how in this Snow White world, he scares her and she runs off into the forest. After that, Terra doesn't even think about making sure the young woman is okay. He confronts the evil queen and then just leaves. Or, my favorite, in the world of Stitch, he realizes he's been tricked, looks around with alarms blaring and practically says, well, I'm out, and just leaves! The only world where Terra achieves complete and total success is in Olympus Coliseum, where he saved Hades from Zack. It's a good moment, but it's just one. Terra also stars in the game's worst written scene, the three main characters' encounter at Radiant Garden. You can tell what they were going for. Ventus never stops being the little brother and is unable to defuse the situation. Aqua, well, we'll get to her later. Terra refuses to admit his mistakes, preferring to reject his family and go with Xehanort, because he's the only one who doesn't remind him of his errors. In fact, he praises him and blames others, unaware that Xehanort does this on purpose to feed his darkness. All of that is very well written, but here the game wants us to believe that this is a breakdown of a strong friendship and you just don't feel it. Once again, Birth by Sleep tried to do too much in too little time. You'll see this scene halfway through your first character's story, which will take about 4 to 5 hours. By the time you saw Sora and Riku fighting, or Roxas, Shion and Axel's friendship fall apart, you'd already spent 4 times as much time and seeing them all together, because Birth by Sleep barely has any scenes of its heroes together. It's funny. Part of why fans defend the other protagonists is because they debate that by seeing them in everyday situations and having normal conversations, they develop their own personalities and you empathize with them. But Birth by Sleep contains multiple flashbacks in which these three interact with each other. The problem is that they're bad. For starters, they didn't bother to create younger models. In this scene, Terra, Aqua, and Ventus are supposed to be 16, 14, and 12 years old respectively. The dialogues are bland, and worst of all, do they do anything beside train? All we see from these three is training. They don't seem to have lives, things they like or dislike, or hobbies. On the one hand, it's cool. It's what I said earlier about the Jedi. Arrogance has created a bubble in which they are being poorly educated. But on the other hand, it makes the characters seem basic and simple. And that's a shame, because remember Terra's wooden keyblade? Official documents say that Terra made it himself, that he's a good carpenter. That's really cool! It gives Terra an interesting hobby that requires precision and creativity, something we really don't see at all in his story. And, as I've been saying for a while now, it's a shame because there are good things. There's a great moment in the world of Stitch where Terra realizes that his own subconscious is smarter than he is.
Give that back!
Too late. He's already marked for destruction.
No, stop! My friend gave me that!
This whole time I've been telling myself I want to be stronger, more independent. But the second I let my heart do the talking, I find out how little I really know myself, and how much I miss them.
Terra might have a big ego that prevents him from facing his mistakes, but that's all it is. Ego. Terra has a deep appreciation for his family. It's just hard to see because it's more than he's willing to admit or convey to others. Basically, we have a summary of his character in Destiny Islands. He sees in Riku the potential to be a next generation Keyblade wielder, so he performs the Keyblade inheritance ceremony. A completely well-intentioned but a stupid act, since telling a child, "Hey, you're the chosen one," has unforeseen consequences for poor Terra. As we all know, it goes straight to Riku's head, and 10 years later, he almost destroys the universe! But Terra's character completely changes in the final hour. When things get truly serious, when Xehanort tricks Terra into killing Arrogance and all cards are on the table, that strength and determination I mentioned earlier finally appear in a positive light, instead of a negative one. When it's Arrogance who's making a fatal mistake, Terra's stubbornness as he protects Ventus isn't stupid. It's inspiring.
Master! Have you gone mad?
Terra, I command you, step aside.
No!
You will not heed your master?
I won't!
Why do all my attempts to reach you fail? If you don't have it in your heart to obey, then you will have to share Ventus's fate.
Enough, Terra! He's right! Quiet!
You may be my master, but I will not let you hurt my friend!
And when he finally faces Xehanort, woo! In Kingdom Hearts, people don't usually get angry. In the video about Roxas, I talk about how his moments of raw anger and sadness are very intense and uncharacteristic of the other characters, but with Terra we see an impressive fury. It's also great to see him finally verbalize the love he has for his family, calling Arrogance his father.
You will pay, Xehanort. Was my master? No. My father, Arrogance, not enough for you? Leave my friends alone!
Yes, boy, that's it. More! Let your whole heart blacken with anger!
But this game isn't about the typical anime situations. In fact, it's about how those situations are the consequence of the characters not being prepared enough when they reach the end of the story. Ventus has the power of friendship, but it's not enough to save him from Vanitas. Terra practically turns into a Super Saiyan, but he is still stupid, and that's why he never figured out Xehanort's plan. Fill Terra with uncontrolled darkness so he could possess his body. However, I've said that in this ending, Terra's character changes completely. Part of the reason is that the lingering will is born here. Terra's determination is so ironclad that not even losing both body and soul can stop him. This man is too angry to die. The little that remains of him lifts his almost empty armor and begins to beat the shit out of Xehanort. It's satisfying, but it doesn't last long. The lingering will is little more than a simple robot whose only line of code is beat the crap out of Xehanort, which it does very well, but it has no means to save itself. All he can do is win sit, and wait. It's a very anticlimactic resolution. The fact that the last thing we saw of Terra was him being deceived and possessed was undoubtedly a big part of why the character wasn't as beloved, since we wouldn't get a resolution until Kingdom Hearts 3, a resolution that even many who hated the game called spectacular. But we'll get to that. It's time to complete the Trinity. Aqua's case is curious. She's the only survivor of the 3 heroes. Besides her own plot, she stars in the final episode, the secret episode, and 0.2. But her storyline in this game is the simplest of them all. No, seriously, Terra and Ventus go through a lot, but Aqua just goes from world to world cleaning up the messes her brothers left behind, and that's it. She has a few good interactions, but not much else. She doesn't even get a moment before the final world. Ventus learns the truth about himself. Terra confronts Arrogance and witnesses the destruction of his home. Aqua is told, hey, it's the end of the game now, so go over there, and that's it. Aqua herself isn't very interesting, but like the other two, there's something to dive into. To begin with, while Aqua is the middle child in terms of age, 18, 2 years younger than Terra and 2 years older than Ventus, her personality is that of the elder sibling. This even affects Terra, whose problems and attitude are characteristic of the middle child. Aqua seems happy to be the babysitter of her 2 chaotic and dramatic brothers, but in the prologue, she's also made a Keyblade Master, a title with responsibilities that, as we'll see in the future, are too much for her. Aqua doesn't face her own dilemmas like Terra and Ventus. Her dilemma is Terra and Ventus themselves. She is completely incapable of controlling or leading them, and this is also a problem with the education Arrogance gave her. He has taught her how to fight and safeguard the light, but he hasn't taught her anything about human interactions. Not even about how to truly control the balance between light and darkness. Damn, in the first world, Cinderella's, Aqua detects great darkness emanating from Lady Tremaine and her 2 daughters, summons her Keyblade, and walks towards the house. My question is, if the fairy godmother hadn't stopped her, would she have killed them? I mean, if the fairy godmother had taken 2 more minutes, Aqua would have burst through the door and sliced 3 women in half because she detected darkness. Arrogance, what the hell have you taught this woman? Not subtlety. He's clearly taught her how to behave with authorities. Aqua's best moment in terms of personality is in the Stitch world. She behaves very formally and properly with the Galactic Empress. At the end of the world, this behavior is rewarded, and her request to spare Stitch's life is granted. Aqua treats Stitch very well, again, like an older sister with a little boy brother. The reason this doesn't work with Ventus and Terra in particular is that they aren't little kids anymore. In Radiant Garden, when Aqua is looking for Terra, she says the following.
I'm looking for a boy who's not from around here. Have you seen him?
She says boy, which, okay, it's not wrong, but the connotation is more like child. Terra is already a grown man, but Aqua still sees and treats him like a child. In fact, Uncle Scrooge thinks she's talking about the younger Ventus and guides her to the wrong place. By the way, Aqua knows how to behave around authorities, but she doesn't know how to be one. Arrogance may have named her a Keyblade Master, but he hasn't taught her how to behave like one. She never screws up with Ventus as badly as she does with Terra, but here she first raises her voice, then regrets it and switches into big sister mode before leaving. Once again, we're back to the mistakes inherited from Arrogance. If Aqua hadn't spent her entire life in the land of departure, if she had met more people and had more experiences, she probably wouldn't have been stuck in her big sister role, and she probably would have been able to handle everything that happens in this game much more effectively. Because in the end, treating Terra and Ventus like children means that, no matter how much she cares, she doesn't trust them. Even at the end, neither her nor Terra, with all they've learned, have progressed enough for the challenge ahead. Terra admits his mistake, but he doesn't stop to think. He doesn't see Xehanort's plan. Aqua treats him better than before and says things that are true, but she doesn't believe in him. When she finally sees her brothers fighting with strength and courage against the ultimate evil, it's only then that he begins to see them as equals, but it's too late. Ventus is in a coma. and Terra is possessed. In the end, all we're left with regarding Aqua is that every adversity she's overcome empowers her, and in her final battle, she finally acts like a true master and speaks with authority.
My name is Master Aqua. Now return my friend's heart, or pay the price!
Her sacrifice for Terra and her endurance in the infernal realm of darkness are admirable, but they still weren't enough for the character to stand out. Aqua was the most beloved of the three characters, but not so much because she was better, but because she had fewer flaws, which was because she also took the fewest risks, including the fact that it's with her that you get a definitive ending, instead of Terra and Ventus' anticlimactic ones. But, and I think I speak for many, this character became much more popular in her next appearance. Here I'm going to quote someone else, because they explain very well why Aqua gained popularity. In Birth by Sleep, her goal was to be happy with her friends, but her friends were the problem. Something interesting could have been written with this, but it wasn't the case. Okay, starting from here, how do we make Aqua an interesting character? This short game is completely different from the usual Kingdom Hearts adventure, which served Aqua perfectly to showcase a darker, more depressing journey. We're still in Disney worlds, but in destroyed versions with strange elements, not to mention completely solitary ones. The realm of darkness constantly attacks Aqua, both physically with hordes of Heartless and mentally. In a distorted version of Snow White's world, the mirrors create a phantom Aqua who constantly insults and demeans her, and seeing her overcome all of this, even if only barely, is far more admirable than everything that happened in Birth by Sleep. The best moment is in the distorted version of the Sleeping Beauty world. This time, the realm of darkness shows Aqua illusions of Terra and Ventus walking away from her. What makes it the best moment and what hurts me so much is that Aqua is fully aware that 1. It's an illusion, and 2. It's a trap, but she can't help following them because she feels alone. It's one thing to be lost in the desert and hallucinate an oasis. It's another to hallucinate an oasis, know it's an hallucination, and still go, because you're so desperate your body moves on its own. The trap turns out to be a legion of dark sides, carrying a dark spirit bomb, like the one we saw at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 1, which Aqua defeats and destroys. We don't often see characters in this franchise get tired. At most, they'll pause for a moment. This is one of the few times in the series where you really feel Aqua's exhaustion as she collapses in a now empty wasteland after her victory. The ending of this long demo isn't much to write home about, it's fine, but it was this solitary journey that made Aqua a much more epic and interesting character. Kingdom Hearts 3 is the game that concludes the stories of these three characters. Even from the trailers, we knew that despite all the resilience we saw in 0.2, not even Master Aqua could survive more than a decade in Kingdom Hearts' equivalent of hell without getting hurt.
You're too late.
I remember how the internet exploded the first time Anti-Aqua was seen. A brief interlude, I said more than a decade because in Birth by Sleep, Sora is 4 years old. In the first game, he's 14, and in Kingdom Hearts 3, he's 16, so Aqua spent 12 years in the realm of darkness, but her physical appearance hasn't changed. Someone on the development team realized that it would be ridiculous and cruel to keep a character in hell for so long, so they came up with the idea that, since it's technically another dimension, time moves at a different pace, and Aqua actually spends about a year in that realm. It's still crap, but it's better than 12, and that's how they keep her young. In fact, between time travel, possessions, and metaphysical comas, both her, Terra, and Ventus stay young. Great, I guess. Well, as you finish the Disney worlds in Kingdom Hearts 3, it's revealed that Erika's Keyblade, which Aqua carried as a symbol of the burden of being a master, ends up in the Dark Sea. It's never really explained, but I like to think that Aqua let the waves carry it away as a way to send a distress signal, a reverse of Kairo's letter. She tries to face Ansem without her Keyblade, loses, and is thrown into the abyss. Despite enduring an inhuman amount of time, Aqua is ultimately consumed by darkness. This happens, once again, because of a mistake inherited from Arrogance. The first to face this corrupted Aqua is Riku. At this point, as I said in the Riku video, he is a master of both light and darkness, with complete control over his emotions. This confrontation demonstrates the superiority of the new generation, as Aqua exploits her negative emotions, which manifest as dark power. If Arrogance had taught Aqua to understand and control her darkness as Riku learned, not even the Abyss would have overcome her.
Do you have any idea how lonely it is here? How frightening it is to have no one? All that's left in my heart is misery and despair. And now, you can share it.
There's no need. Got my own.
Aqua's distress signal reaches Sora, and he lands just in the nick of time. The fight is a missed opportunity on 2 counts. Aqua is ridiculously easy, and they don't let you use Arrogance's Keyblade to defeat her, which would have been great symbolism. Oh well, we'll just have to fix it with mods. The scene where Aqua wakes up after being purified by Sora is absolute cinema. The first thing she asks is when did the islands fall to darkness, because she's so convinced she'll never escape that she hasn't realized she's already out. Sora tells her she's home, just like Kairi told him when he escaped the Realm of Darkness at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2. It's cinema!
When did they fall to darkness?
You're in the realm of light. You're home!
With Ventus, we don't get a moment like this. Yeah, this scene where he wakes up is fine, but we don't even have any good dialogue with Sora. Yes, we have it with Vanitas after his battle in the Keyblade Graveyard. I haven't mentioned Vanitas in the Ventus section because, honestly, their rivalry is pretty bland. Vanitas is really cool, but the animosity between these two doesn't work for me. Getting back to Kingdom Hearts 3, half the dialogue might as well be, "We're brothers, so we're friends." "No, because I'm darkness." "But don't you want to be like, I'm darkness, just fuck off already!" But I really like how you can tell Ventus has already dealt with this pain in the ass. While Sora tries to understand and help redeem Vanitas, Ventus gives up. Even in this franchise where most villains are redeemed in one way or another, there's someone who's just evil, and that's it. Ventus himself ends the conversation with okay. With Aqua and Ventus done, only Terra is left, and I said at the beginning that this game might be why the character's popularity has increased. He had a brief moment of glory in 0.2, but it's here that things really get intense. The situation is desperate. Terranort captures Sora, Aqua, and Ventus, knocks the latter two unconscious, and when he sends them plummeting to their deaths...
Terra, I kept my promise.
The Guardian, this strange enemy who has obeyed Ansem and Terranort since the first game, turns out to be Terra's enslaved heart. It's implied that the death of the Lingering Will from the DLC and seeing Aqua and Ventus in danger is what finally breaks the hold Xehanort had on Terra. There was a clue that some managed to deduce in Dream Drop Distance, in which the Guardian seems to recognize Riku and his Keyblade and either tries to imitate him or reach out to him. Now it makes sense. While Ansem was falling unconscious, Terra must have had a brief moment of independence. In this spectacular scene, the toughest nails Terranort, who can take a beating like no one else, gets pummeled. In fact, he takes a ton of hits in this game. First, Donald blasts him with the Death Star beam, then the Lingering Will fires the Omega beam, and now his own Guardian betrays him and grabs him with a violence that hurts to watch. We see that, just as Aqua endured for so long, Terra did too. When he finally manages to speak, he finishes a sentence he began 12 years ago.
One day, I will set this right.
One day, I will set
this right. I will return to this land and protect my friends.
And all of this while Terra's incredible theme is playing. I've been saving it until now for the perfect moment to listen to it. Most characters in this franchise have sad themes. Even Sora, whose theme is upbeat, later got a more melancholic song, linked to all. But Terra has a track that practically shouts, "Where are the bad guys? I'm gonna fuck them up!" And their reunion is pretty good too. It's short, but they reference lines from Birth by Sleep and make it clear that all this suffering has made Terra shed his stupidity and ego.
The next time someone wanders into the realm of darkness, I'll be here. A light to cut through all the shadows. I will be their Wayfinder. Is it you?
Yeah. You never stop lighting my way back. When I really need you, Ven, I know you'll be there.
Well, why wouldn't I? You're my friend.
You're here.
I heard you too, Ven. You found me, just like you promised. Thank you.
Even Arrogance gets one last moment of glory at the end, in which he kind of defeats Xehanort once more, before apologizing to his disciples for all the suffering his mistakes have caused. I really like one particular shot, when they're hugging, because it makes clear that, no matter how many mistakes Arrogance made while educating his pupils, he loved them. That's more important than being right. We see just how important in this shot, where Arrogance is embracing his pupils while Xehanort stands completely alone. If Arrogance hadn't shown mercy, Xehanort would have stumbled and fallen to the ground, dying a pathetic, lonely death. The DLC that came out a year later was the icing on the cake for Terra and Aqua. It clarified what was already apparent, which I find neat and makes me want to see these characters return. Since Birth by Sleep in 2010, Aqua, despite all her flaws, was the strongest and most intelligent of the group and was considered their leader. Terra was just dumb and out of control. But they've both reacted very differently to their suffering. Even someone as strong as Aqua can be traumatized by horrific experiences to the point of being paralyzed with terror when in the past she wouldn't have been. And on the other hand, Terra has emerged from his horrific experience strengthened, stronger and wiser, but also more humble, as we see in his conversation with Riku. I even want to see Kairi officially become Aqua's apprentice, something I wouldn't have cared about at all before 0.2 came out. After talking about all of this, it's become very clear to me why these characters didn't succeed at the time. It was a clear mix of lack of time and overconfidence on the part of the developers. They wanted to make a massive game on the PSP, with 3 protagonists whose stories unfold simultaneously, expand the lore, and take advantage of its prequel status to showcase characters from the past. They couldn't do all that, and to give the most negative example, they couldn't create a new character who was as admirable as Sora and as romantic as Roxas at the same time. These 3 characters have carried the burden of not failing, but let's just say that Birth by Sleep's story is a barely passing grade. A solid 5. And while 0.2 and Kingdom Hearts 3 have shown that they can be interesting and fun to watch, That rough start has left them behind in the popularity race. Honestly, I'd like Roxas, Shion, and Axel to stay in Twilight Town and live their lives in peace. I'd rather see more of Terra and Aqua. Watch them evolve from here, see them work through their traumas, and see the old generation learn from the new. And I don't think they'll pull it off, but it would be nice if they managed to give Ventus a new story that made him an interesting character. And it would also be nice if that story wasn't in a goddamn mobile game! Nomura!
It's a secret.
Aw, come on, tell me!
Are you sure about this?
Yes. But don't worry. I'm not alone this time.